the word ADD is overutilized. We don't appreciate ADD kids at all, when really the ADD kids are the most successful people in the world, and they're the ones that are going to make the money and support our yeshivas in the future.
Yiddishkeit can never be weaponized. A kid can never see Yiddishkeit as that which is causing them pain in life.
One of the hardest things to set up in our schools, the remedial schedule, because
Yes.
it's not necessarily true that the child who didn't need it last year or needed it last year will need it the following year, because so much of it depends on the personality of the teacher.
I'm saying chinuch has come a very long way from when I was in school, and we had older rabbeim and old school, and we'll leave it at that.
Welcome to the Learning Curve podcast, brought to you by Mishpacha magazine.
We're raising children in a changing and challenging world.
So let's tackle the important issues facing families today.
I'm Rabbi Garfield, Menal of Yeshiva Torah Umesora in Houston, and I love talking about chinuch.
I'm Rabbi Ari Schonfeld, Menahel of Yeshiva Katana of Manhattan, Rosh Meister of Beis Sipra Manhattan, Director of Camp Aish. I also love talking chinuch, and of course, a little bit of fishing.
Join us as we answer your questions and discuss the topics that matter to parents the most.
Bruchim Habayim, and welcome back to another episode of The Learning Curve as we continue on in Season 3. And really, tonight, we come to you from the Torah Umesora Convention. So this episode, Rabbi Garfield, is unique. It's different. Our background is different. But as we continue to answer the questions from the parents, after our Shabbos that we just experienced, I think we come with maybe a little bit of a different vantage point. So I look forward to this episode, maybe more than others.
Absolutely. This is a Shabbos of chinuch. We're so focused about chinuch, right? That's what we do our whole lives, me and
Yes.
you. All we do is talk about chinuch. So to be with so many, whatever it is, 1,500 other people who care so much, and it's just so great to be here.
And, there was a lot to take out of the convention. Maybe we'll each share a little bit, then we'll take one question, then we'll bring on our chashuva guests from all around the country. That's part of the beauty of the Torah Umesora Convention, which makes this episode special. Eli Paley spoke before Musaf on Shabbos, and he said over a story, a very powerful story from Rav Moshe Grylak that he himself heard.
Wow.
That Rav Moshe Grylak was speaking to the best 8th grade Rebbe in Yerushalayim. His name was Reb Feifel. This goes back literally, maybe 80 years, this story. And he asked Reb Feifel, and the way he said it was, if you do the math, the 8th graders that he had in this yeshiva in Yerushalayim, back in those days, probably along the lines of B'Shem Zalman and Rabbi Yashov, right? It was future Gedolei Hadar were in that class. And Rav Moshe Grylak asked him, what is your secret sauce? What do you do that makes, you the most popular Rebbe around? And he said, Ich red mit the Talmidim mehr wie ich lerne mit them. I speak with my students more than I learn with them. And these are his Talmidim that ended up being future Gedolim. And Rebellia was exhorting us, Menahelim, Rebbeim, to speak to Talmidim, to embrace them. I want to share one story that to me was over Shabbos. It didn't come from a Rebbe. It gave me chills. I'm hopefully not going to give up too much information. But someone at this convention has a child that I taught in my early years as a Rebbe, a very challenged student, a closed student who really struggled. I had I thought, a great year with him as his 6th grade Rebbe in Yeshivish Spring Valley. And today he is, as the fairy tale stories go, learning in the Mir in Yerushalayim, married in Kol. I met his parents here, haven't seen them in a while, and they said to me that in 6th grade he was so closed, and he was angry, and he was tough. And I said, what changed him? He said just the following words, his mother and father. He said, he went to Waterbury. I said, and he's a good basketball player. I said, so that was good enough for them. He said what happened was he went to a yeshiva that all he had at that point in his life was basketball, and that was good enough for them for real. And he felt seen, felt valued, and he felt important. And that was the beginning of his journey, and now he's sitting and learning. So, Baruch Hashem, we're in chinuch with boys and girls that are hopefully not clothed and not angry, but afal pichein, kal v'chomer, all the more so, to embrace them. We talk about this a lot in the podcast. If it's basketball, if it's a musical instrument, if it's art, whatever that is, we have to find it. We talk about it all the time, and it was just another example of that.
Beautiful.
What's been your? I mean, you're so busy. You're walking around. Everyone's just following you around, like this is your convention. So
It's true. I love it. I love talking to people. If I meet someone new, I say, "Who are you? What do you do?" It's great. I just want to comment on what you said. Is that what's so nice is we have Menahelim here. There are Menahelim here from all over the country, and really internationally even, and they do share that value. It's
Yes.
like there's so many shared approach that we recognize that we have to take care of kids. We have to take care of the children. It's wonderful with all the problems that it's so inspiring to be around mechanchim from New York and from Lakewood and from LA and from Chicago and from wherever they're from, and they hear the same shmooze that
Right.
you just said, and really believe it. And it's an inspiration. And I hope that we're starting to right the ship and get the chinuch system oriented to really take care of children.
I led a panel of English principals, which was ironic that they looked to me to discuss behavior and doing well in English. But we were talking about how the English is so important for Lumei Kodesh and the Chol to be on one page, same page. And I asked by raise of hands, how many of you Menahelim or English principals feel that your Lumei Kodesh department supports you fully? And every single hand went up. So something that is discussed so often, you make sure that your school is one team. It was such a
We're getting somewhere.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
You know, Baruch Hashem. Nusa, tell me your convention wisdom of the day, your moment.
So much. But I had an opportunity to speak with Ray Bender last night, to moderate a panel which he was answering
So
questions.
did I, but I'm not going to repeat that my story with Rabbi Bender, the child that I asked him. I'll keep that private.
Wow.
I will not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this was in front of a few hundred people, so it wasn't private.
Okay.
And we were, it was him. I was asking him questions about chinuch. And I left there realizing that there was a theme of almost all the answers that he had. We asked about buying special clothing and laning, kids coming to laning, and kids coming to the Shabbos Suda, and all sorts of things like that. And the essence of what he said is Yiddishkeit can never be weaponized. A kid can never see Yiddishkeit as that which is causing them pain in life. So if they're not able to buy a certain clothes because their family is in chinuch, or they're not able to play with their friends, or they're not able to listen to certain music, or whatever it is, within reason, obviously, never allow Yiddishkeit to be a weapon in their mind. You have to make sure that it's a positive, a loving connection. And it was so refreshing to hear him say it so proudly and so strongly. And some of the parents who were there, the people asking, are like, "Are you sure?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm sure. Don't pressure your kids. Don't make them crazy." And it's a very healthy thing to hear and to think about. And I was...
So speaking of pressuring your kids, watch this. Watch how smart
Yeah.
do this. And things they can't afford and it's hard for them.
Yeah.
Question.
Let's go.
Drum roll. So I'm going to read you the first question, and then we'll go to the spotlight question, and we'll bring on our guests. So here's the
Wonderful.
question that came in. Dear TLC, my daughters insist that all their friends, every single one, of course, that's how it goes, right? Every single one, are going somewhere for midwinter vacation this year. And it's just not possible for us. We just had Hanukkah vacation. Can't schools have Rachmanas on the parents and come up with an option for those of us who can't afford a mandatory family vacation just because the schools are off? So what do you do? I guess in Houston, there's no such thing as winter vacation, but less hot vacation.
Right.
The challenge of having winter vacation or vacation in general, and then you're asking a good question.
It's like we talk about Bittul Torah.
So you have one vacation.
So we don't have so much
How
Bittul
long is
Torah.
vacation? How
We only
long
have one time Bittul Torah.
How long is your vacation?
It's about 8 school days, 7 or 8
school
school days.
days.
It's literally from December 23rd to January 1st.
Wow.
And whenever that falls out, is when
I don't think any schools in the tri-state area.
No, even out of town. I mean, it's definitely a unique feature that is not celebrated by everyone.
But the question obviously still stands. You have a parent who
yeah.
who
That
can't
was just my
afford it.
reaction
Yeah.
that there's two. In terms of that, obviously you always start with when they say everybody,
Right.
everyone.
No,
No.
I have parents every year. I get phone calls from parents. It's not what you're doing to us is not fair. You're putting in an unfair expectation because a lot of people go away, and our kids want us to go away. They want us to go to Florida. They want us to go skiing, and it's not fair. I don't know what's the meaning. and therefore they want less vacation. Therefore, they want yeshivas to supply trips. I supply trips in the summer. But
I mean, some yeshivas make rules, right? You're not allowed to go certain places.
there are yeshivas in New York that if they have boys' school and a girls' school, they'll give them vacations at different times, so the family can't go
On
together.
purpose.
On purpose. I don't. Okay, I asked you the
Listen,
question.
I think it has to do with all financial matters. What
Correct.
do you do when kids in the class, Ruba the Ruba, are able to do a certain thing that your family's not able to?
right.
I think that comes down to some basic parenting, not to say simple, easy parenting. I just mean like basic in the sense that that's what being a parent is about.
Yep.
Is helping your kids understand the qualities and challenges of your family and being okay with that. Listen, I'm sure we wish we made more money. I mean, it's
Right.
not like I'm not doing it on purpose, but this is our reality. And we've chosen to spend our money on X and Y and not Z.
Yeah, I grew up. Hope I'm not, giving away too much information. My mother was a Mora. My father was a Rav. The first time I was on a plane since I was 5 I was 21 going to Eretz Yisrael.
Wow.
So never went to Florida. Great adventure was maybe if the NCSY had a free ticket, my father got us. But there's no such thing as the only time we went skiing is if it was snowed and we were down no school and we would sled down
So
the back of our alley.
how did your parents, did they address that with you? Or was it just
No,
like,
we couldn't afford it, and that was okay. In other words, okay for me. Yes, my siblings and my sisters and brothers, that was okay for them. But this is obviously a big question in terms of whenever whose responsibility is it to make weddings less fancy,
Right.
and there's of course a responsibility of the ashirim and the wealthy people to live within their means. It's also a responsibility of parents who don't have financial means to be able to give over to their children the ability to not have what others have, to be samech b'chelkai. And yes, you have to be creative. I know plenty of mothers in the summer who can't send their kids to camp and they have camp mommy. And if they're creative enough, it's challenging. But just to say, therefore, we shouldn't have vacation because there are parents that can't afford it. You can say that about everything then.
It's a fair sensitivity. I'll share something real from my school that's related. We have pizza lunch once a week on Friday.
So do we.
Okay, so pizza lunch is an extra cost. Not everyone can afford it. Most people can. It's not a huge amount of money. But if a person has 3 or 4 kids,
Right.
it adds up. So there have been people who asked me to expand the hot lunches to Tuesday, to Wednesday. Certainly people of means, it's hard to make a lunch.
Right.
And let the restaurant come. What's the problem? Let the restaurant come. They'll charge $7, $8 for
Right.
lunch. And the people who don't have to have it don't have to have it.
Right.
And I took a stand and I said, we do the Friday, we do the pizza lunch, but I don't want a situation where the wealthier kids are sitting there eating their Gishmaka ravioli or I don't know, whatever they make.
Right.
And you're sitting with a peanut butter jelly sandwich. I
Right.
think that's too much. At the same time, I have people who are upset that we even have pizza because that itself is hard for some
Right.
families. And we try to address that, in an appropriate way, but it's a balance. And I think there is value. It's a valid point at times, but we have to find that balance. All right, let's move
Okay,
on to
let's move on.
the spotlight question.
So usually we have 2 questions before
Yeah.
the spotlight, but being that we have 3 guests joining us this episode, we want to give them ample time, and therefore, here we go.
All right, so this is exciting. We have 3 Chashuva Menahelim with us, a lot of experience and perspective to explore the next question.
Yes, and literally from around the country, Shutai.
Yes.
So maybe we'll allow the Menahelim and the principals to introduce themselves.
Okay, great.
And now that we're being videoed and we're live, and we're always live. Baruch Hashem.
Mr. Altabiba, tell us your name and what you do and where you're from.
Hi, I'm Richard Altaby. I am a retired 37-year principal. I was a principal in Yeshiva Darchei Torah General Studies, Yeshiva Magen David High School, Sharei Torah High School, and the last 9 years in Hebrew Academy of Long Beach. Loved it. 37
All
years.
General Studies Department?
I was General Studies and Kodesh. I did both. The last 20-something years I did Kodesh and Chol together. And now I am consulting around the country for an outfit called Chinuch First, which those out there in the audience will one day hear about.
Wonderful.
Amazing.
Okay, Rabbi Levine.
My name is Rabbi Mendy Levine. I'm the principal of Yeshiva Day School of Las Vegas, obviously in Las Vegas.
How long have you been there for?
14 years.
And how many kids in the school?
There's 320 kids in preschool through 8. There's a boys division and a girls division, so everyone together.
And you're the head of school?
I am.
Wonderful.
So me and Rabbi Levine have a history.
Ooh.
We went to camp together for a bunch of summers.
Is that Heller? Where'd you go?
Camp Heller.
nice.
If you were in Chafetz Chaim, you went to Camp Heller. So if he's in Las Vegas, he's probably either Chabad or Chafetz Chaim. So
Or both.
320. I think that's probably a big surprise.
Yeah, that's great.
And how the school has grown how in the last 10 years?
When I came to the school 14 years ago, there were 50 students in the school.
Oh.
And
Get
now-
commission, I hope, right?
And 2 years ago, we just moved on to like a 5-acre campus, like a big $16 million building. So things are, Baruch Hashem, happening. There's a Beis Yaakov High School that's not affiliated with us. There's the Mesivta of Las Vegas. I have 2 sons there. There's 60 boys in high school and 40 boys in Beis Medrash.
Is there a Rav that's the Rav of the city in Vegas?
There is not.
There are Rabbanim, obviously, they live there, but there isn't.
So there's a large Chabad community, but outside the Chabad community, there's Young Israel, which is the oldest shul there.
Right.
And there's 2 other communities called Summerlin and Henderson. They're 30 miles apart. That's where 80% of our school comes from.
Okay, so you have students that live 30 miles from each other?
We do.
Wow.
It used to be the school was on one side, and kids traveled 30 miles each
Now
way
you're,
to school.
now you're in the middle?
Yes, that's the number one rule I learned as a principal: make everyone not happy. So now we're in the middle; nobody's happy.
Do you have any weather events there? Like, snow, obviously.
It's 120 degrees in July, but we don't have school in July. It rained this week 1.5 inches, which is more than it rained the whole 2025.
That's it.
Not much weather.
That's great, because I hate that. I hate weather events, the early morning decisions. And okay. Rabbi Itzstein.
Yeah, my name is Pinchas Hitzstein. I am the Menal of Torah Academy of Minneapolis. Been there for the last 13 years. And
Where were you
I
before
love it.
that?
I was in Silver Spring, Maryland. I was a Rebbe for 22 years there. I love every day of the week in school.
How big is the yeshiva?
We have 350 kinderlach from early childhood through 8th grade.
Is the number stable? Is there?
The school has been incrementally growing.
Great.
When we came 13 years ago, there was 230 children in the school. Now there's 350.
Wonderful. Mr. Alderby, we missed in the beginning. What is Chinuch First?
What is Chinuch First? Okay, there are a group of schools in Muncie that developed a curriculum and a set of assessments that go along with it, and they pay the Rebbes to stay after school to prepare
This is the
curriculum.
Cheder de Muncie, Rabbi
Yeah,
Eisgrau?
Yes, Rabbi Eisgrau's system, correct. So they have opened up, now they're on their 3rd boys' school with 1 girls' school, and I've helped develop the curriculum as a side consultant over time, but now that they have 4 schools.
Kodesh curriculum or a Chol?
Kodesh, but they wanted my secular studies head to help organize a Kodesh curriculum, which is genius, I think, because really we put it in a way that it's replicable and usable everywhere. And now that it's being used in 4 schools over there, we're spreading it around the country, and Rabbi Garfield's one of our schools.
Really?
Houston.
Oh, so this
That's
is
right.
okay.
Rabbi Hillel Shepherd in Baltimore, and many people have expressed interest in this at this convention.
It's a very amazing thing.
I tried to sell to Rabbi Schonfeld, but he's giving me problems. I don't know. First, you stole my mower. It's a separate story.
Separate story.
Yeah, we'll leave
Yeah.
that. We'll leave that for another discussion. Okay, so I'm going to read a question, and we'll discuss it. Here we go. The first contact I had from my son's school this year was an email they sent me a week before parent-teacher conference saying that my son is struggling and that we need to discuss a plan. And then parentheses, it says, AKA, they want to put him on medication for a diagnosis he doesn't have. There's no way they're going into this meeting with an open mind, and that there's no way I'll be able to either. We have many more years ahead of us in the yeshiva. How can I, as a parent, maintain the relationship without giving in on what they insist on? Mr. Alderby, you have a thought about that?
They sent it as an email.
As I zooked.
Let's start with that problem.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I'm not going to defend the indefensible. A conversation like that doesn't start with an email. A conversation like that happens after a series of interactions over a period of time where the Menal and the Rebbe and the Morah have developed trust with the parent. And then maybe you could discuss a series of incidents that may lead you to a conclusion that maybe they should look into something like medication. And we are not doctors to prescribe medicine. I've never taken that position. It's overused. The word ADD is overutilized. We don't appreciate ADD kids at all, when really the ADD kids are the most successful people in the world, and they're the ones that are going to make the money and support our yeshivas in the future. And half the Menahelim at this convention have ADD.
At least.
And half the
And
Menahelim
really,
is sitting here.
and really, I don't want to get the parent more upset, but I'm going to tell you right now, I'm on the parent side. I'm not throwing the principal on the bus, but you don't start out with an email. That to me is
So what
rule number
advice
one.
do you have? I mean, we could really unpack that ADD thing. That sounds
Yeah, but-
interesting, but let's just sticking on this for a second. So what advice do you have for this mother?
Okay, well, the fact that she's asking the question, the way she's asking the question, shows that she's a good mother. So I want to really, I don't know who you are out there, but I just want to say, let's give her a round of applause because she's saying smartly, I'm going to be in this school for the next 8, 10, 12 years. I have to have a relationship with this
Don't
school.
be short-sighted.
I am really angry about this email, but I can't go in there and shoot the principal for saying such a
Right.
thing, right? So the advice really is take a deep breath, figure out your position, listen, because you really want to hear why they think that. It's important as a parent really to get that information. Even if you're going to do nothing, you are under no obligation to agree, but you certainly don't want to start out attacking because once you attack, that's going to put the school into the defensive. Listen, give suggestions and maybe alternatives of why things may be happening a certain way. Have the conversation and express, I think, care that the school cares about your child enough to bring you to a meeting. I think that's a good idea, always to give credit to the mechanchim and the Menahelim because they really do work hard. But she's already starting on the right track because she's asking the question with a lot of derech.
Rabbi Levine, I don't know if you remember saying this, but at probably 2 years ago, at maybe it was a Menahelim's conference. I don't think it was at a conference here. I think it was a Menahelim's conference. You discussed something that you put in place in your yeshiva. I hope I'm remembering this right. That end of the year, you won't say things or suggest things until I'm misremembering a little bit. But
Okay, so you're actually remembering something. So I know
Okay.
it was at the Stanford, the first Rabbi Garfield Menahelim event in Stanford. I haven't been able to join recently. It's really bad in the schedule for me. It's like the end of school. But this year, I think it might, maybe if there will be one, I'll hopefully attend. So I
that's
said,
one. Check.
Many parents, we'll call them, or many kids that have parshas, my best meetings we have are meetings after school is over. Okay? After school is over, there's no event, no one got kicked out of class, there's no Rebbe pulling his hair out, no one threw any spitballs, and we sit down in June, we sit down in July, and we make a plan for the upcoming year. We say, these are the things that the challenges that we had. They're the best meetings we have. It's not crisis intervention. It's not Band-Aid. The Rebbe wants the kid out of class. The parent wants the kid in class. Those are just pressure situations. Everyone's on a time pressure. The parents are on a time pressure. The school's on a time pressure. We need Yeshivadas, as Mr. Altabi said. Everyone needs to be calm. There's no crisis now. We reflect on the year ahead, but that's...
You meet every parent?
That's
You meet
20%.
every
No, the
parent?
ones with the parsha.
Our top 10, our frequent flyers, we'll call them, our
Right.
top 10. Top 10.
And you don't find that just causes parents to say, yes, they'll yes you along because there's no pressure to do anything because there's no class.
So most situations, and this is a general rule, if we talk about it like mentioned and we figure it out, and I think the main words in that discussion is open-minded, and that applies to parents also. So the parents have to come open-minded. The school has to come open-minded, even though there's histories. It sounds like from that letter there's a lot of history that we don't know about. But everyone comes open-minded. 95 or higher % of times, we could come to a resolution like mentioned, where the school is happy, where the parents are happy. We each have to give a little bit. There's very few situations where you have to literally squeeze their necks that you need the pressure to make it happen. And those are the very difficult, painful decisions that we all have to make as Menahelim, as principals. But that is the miyuta de miyuta. So the less pressure, the better. Like, let's talk, let's figure it out, let's have another meeting. I'm saying I have nothing to do tomorrow. So, yeah.
Rabbi Itzstein, in your school, what does parent-teacher conferences look like in terms of giving over difficult news, and how do you engage parents?
So I ask all of my teachers to make sure that parent-teacher conferences is not their first interaction with a parent.
Right.
I make sure that all the teachers call.
Standard class in your yeshiva.
If anywhere from 8 children to 23, but my middle school is departmentalized, so they could have
Right.
100 students. So that just takes
That's
them
a lot of
little
phone calls.
longer.
That's a lot of phone calls
Yeah,
to make.
it just takes them a little longer to do it. But the reality is that I really ask them to be in touch with everybody before conferences, before the emails. It's no different than your bank. You need to make deposits in order to make withdrawals. And that's what they have to do. They have to make a deposit, and then they can make withdrawals. And depending on what the withdrawal is, you got to make more deposits. It's it's just a simple equation.
I'm thinking now, and I'm going to ask a little vulnerable question to the crowd. And since I'm asking it, I'm not going to have to answer it. Have you ever been a parent? Think about yourselves not as principals right now. Think of yourselves as parents who have gone into a conference and what you learned or what techniques you brought to make sure you got what you needed done.
I just had parent-teacher conferences on Wednesday, right before I came here. I came right from...
As the parent.
You didn't get an email before asking.
So, can I just say a really cool anecdote? Reb Kalman Epstein Shlita said at his father Reb Zelik's Levaya, it's the only thing I remember from the Levaya. I live around the corner from Shara Torah, and I tell this to parents all the time. He said his father was a Yeshiva in Torah V'das, and he was a student, and his mother and his father, who was the Yeshiva of the whole Yeshiva, when he was a kid, went to every single parent-teacher conference, and he said at his father's Levaya, made a roshim on him. Wow. That his parents care and invested in his thing. Probably scared some of the teachers at the Rebbeim, but he was the Yeshiva. He came to every parent-teacher conference. So
you went.
I go with my wife. I clear my schedule, and I go with my wife, and I say the truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God, because it does make it a little awkward. I'm going for my own kid.
You're going for your own kid in your own school.
Yeah, in my own
two employees.
Same thing, and they work for me. Reb Zelik was the Yeshiva of Torah Das. He went to every single class. His son was Reb Kalman, and he went to the classes.
So what skills, I don't know, again, I don't know if you needed to have any skills, but in a situation, it's a little more complicated when you are their boss, you are the manal of that school. But when
my wife also works in this.
Okay, great. What a party. But when you need to
What happens when your child is in her class?
My children they don't get any special treatment. If anything, they get the opposite.
But
that's a different podcast about how to treat kids
who are in your
parents
school.
Work in the school. And then in the out-of-town community, I would say 12% of them, I have 15 employees, and we have issues about it sometimes, and there has to be very clear gedarim how to deal with it, but not with my kids, of course.
So when you need, as a parent, to get something done, to get a message across, what skills do you use? I'm sure you've all done this.
I think it's a very simple thing. You could stand on ceremony, or you could have your child or the student in mind. My advice to this parent would be, of course, the school should have communicated in a better way. But if at the end of the day you want what's best for your child, listen to what they have to say. Listen to what they have to say and work it out with them. I remember when someone told me that my child needed to be medicated, and it was hard. It was really hard to hear. But the person told me, do you wear glasses? Do you drive without glasses? These medications are your child's glasses. So you could stand on ceremony, but hear them out. What does it hurt to it costs money. Sometimes it's covered by your insurance, but a neuropsych evaluation is empowering. It lets everybody know what it is that's going on. So do it, use it, and come to a good conclusion for your child.
Mr. Altaby, it might be more challenging, and I know I'm maybe being unfair, but Rebbeim, there's a certain reverence and kavod naturally given to Rebbeim, and it's also in our circles, it's easier to find a more qualified Rebbe than a qualified English teacher. You have parent-teachers conferences, and you have parents that are speaking to their teachers, their history teacher, their math teacher, their ELA teacher, and you as the principal are like, oh my gosh, right? You stand outside the room by parent-teachers conferences, and you're like, oh no, what are they going to say now that I'm going to have to clean up? Right? Is that a...
Well, no.
No, of course not in your schools, because you hired the best.
All my teachers in all my schools are amazing.
Okay. Putting that aside.
But
Theoretically.
putting that aside, let's say the newer teachers,
right?
Okay, who had never done a PTA before, we would pre-conference and just run through what a PTA looks like and how to deal with the tough questions. And I would always say, you can have a great night because Ruba to Ruba, the parents are great, and the kids that you have Ruba to Ruba are great, and it's only going to be a small percentage of the class that's going to undo you. And you can't let the one or two parents who come in tough kill you. You have to just be strong, let it go, and then talk to me about it so I can help you out the next day. But it's a lot of pre-conferencing, it's a lot of post-conferencing. And I always told my teachers, if you ever have a difficult PTA, I need to know about it. If you have a difficult phone call from a parent, I need to know about it. If you have a difficult email from a parent.
But sometimes they're embarrassed to tell the principal, oh my gosh, you know what I just said?
Listen, the one nakuda that goes across all this is trust. You have to build trust between yourself as a parent and the school has to build trust with you. And I was just going back on the previous thing I said earlier about it's wrong that they did an email. It might also be wrong that the parent waited for PTA to actually engage with the school, because if the parent really wants to be involved with their child, go down on a Sunday, go down on a pick up the child for dismissal at 4:30. Hey, how's my kid doing? Just agavorcha, like, just let me hear. Check in. Like, I was a HAL principal for many years. I was in the building the other night, and I saw my grandson, and I saw one of his teachers I know he's having difficulty with. Hey, what's going on? What's the problem? He's my grandson. It's not even my own kid, but it's my grandson. How's he doing?
Right.
Like, be straight with me. Don't wait for the email. Don't wait. Just communicate. And similarly with teachers, you have to have a trust with the teachers, and the teachers have to be able to trust you that you have their back. When a teacher knows that the principal or the Hanhala has their back, then they're going to share with you.
So, can I tell you
everything.
something that I did recently?
Yes.
And
What did you do
let me know what they're. Let me know if this was.
The full
We had a
Shabbos
wonderful Shabbos
together.
together.
Yeah, we really had.
I didn't put in the I didn't. You're supposed to give in a certain who you want to sit with. So we decided to be like totally. We're gonna go crazy. And we put nobody and see what they do. So we sat with a couple of Mechanichem from Detroit,
Right.
and Shepherd
Baltimore.
from Baltimore, Mr. Alterby from the Fire. It was an amazing Shabbos. I had a few months ago a parent reach out to me at night that one of the grades that the teacher embarrassed her son in front of all the class, right? For something the teacher, it was almost like a cliche. The teacher thought the kid did something wrong, and the kid didn't. It was a mistaken identity. Middle school kid. So great teacher, great kid, great parents, and she was just letting me know she was really upset that the teacher embarrassed my son. Fine. So I didn't even say anything to the teacher. Teacher kind of knew or not. I don't know. I called the kid into my office the next day, and I said, Yankee, you ever have a bad day? And he's like, yeah, teachers have bad days too. Like, I didn't even try to defend her or him. I said, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, what she said to you yesterday? He's like, yeah, that was totally uncalled for. And he's like, yeah, that's it. She's an amazing teacher. She just had a bad day. She was having a hard moment. And he smiled, and I gave him a little fist bump, and that was it. Game over. In other words, if it was validation, I'm not going to, the teacher made a mistake. Again, if it was something horrible, chas v'shalom, right, that's one thing. Teacher made a mistake. She screamed at the wrong kid. I've screamed at the wrong kid in my house plenty of times. But once the kid, and I responded to the mother's email right away, which I wonder if all Menahelim do that. But it was, that's, almost like a ChatGPT style response. Yes, wow, that sounds so disappointing. I'll deal with it tomorrow. Thank you for letting me know, all of that. And I didn't try to do too much. I didn't tell the kid I would speak to the teacher. I just said, yeah, she messed up. And he was okay with that.
What's your question?
No, I guess my question to the panel is, I kind of threw my teacher. I don't know. I did not support my teacher, right? You're officially your staff are yours, and here's a kid who I told the teacher messed up.
You said your teachers are human, and that is a very reassuring thing to children. We're
Right.
all human. When I make a mistake, I try to fess up and I own up and I apologize in public sometimes. I embarrass the kid. I'll come the next day, I'll apologize in public. We're human. There's something called human. There's something called tshuva. That's how we were all made. That's from the beginning. You don't want teachers, as I say, you don't want your teacher to be a robot. I promise you. And things happen. We have human. We make mistakes, and we're going to learn from this. Everyone's going to learn.
Let me clarify, because what you did was perfect. Okay, perfect. The right way to handle it, just like Rabbi Levine just said. You have to have the balance between owning an issue and supporting the teacher. You did both. You owned the issue. The teacher was wrong. You supported the teacher by saying, hey, people have a bad day, and now let's get back to work. That was perfect. So I think that's the balance that we as Menahelim have to try to come to.
Right.
I wouldn't forget the fist pump afterwards.
The fist
That
pump
was
is
also
great,
important.
yeah.
I'm a big fist pumper. I
but I'm
find
saying that
handshakes to be
shows-
almost like
But I'm saying
awkward.
that shows the
but-
child that you're on his side too.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
also very important.
Rabbi Epstein, how do you deal with that parent who calls, not parent, a lot of parents who call and they'll talk about, let's say, the Rebbe, right? And the Rebbe is just, that was wrong, right? And now you have to bring the Rebbe into the conversation, who's a sensitive Rebbe, right? That is that's tricky.
It certainly is. But I think the key to any difficult conversation is that the person on the other end has to feel heard. So the most important thing is to listen to the parent and let them know that you heard them. And you have to do the same thing with the Rebbe. And like I said, both with parents and Rabbeim and with kids, it's the deposits and the withdrawals. I have a Rebbe who I've made a lot of deposits with, and now I'm able to make withdrawals. Right. So I think it's a very simple thing. Like Rabbi Levine said, nobody is perfect.
Right.
It's all in the presentation. If a Rebbe feels you have his back, he'll listen to what you say. If a parent feels you have their back, they'll listen to what you have to say.
I had a parent recently that was very upset at a consequence I gave their son. A pretty severe consequence. I thought he deserved it. And the father called me up and said, it's the wrong thing to do. You're just going to cause him to not be happy. And he was expecting such a pushback. Like, what are you doing? And I said to him, you might be right. Yeah. I said, your son was challenged. It was a challenging story in yeshiva. I took all the air out of the balloon because I said, I thought in the moment, I thought this is what he needed to be sent home, whatever it was. You're telling me sending him home was going to push him away from Yiddishkeit. I said, you might be right. I don't know. I'm just trying. And he didn't know what to do with himself. Because usually,
did he make you rescind? Or did he insist you rescind?
He wanted to know, could his son come back for, again, everyone by us lives not 15 miles, right? It's everything 15 blocks is most of the yeshiva. I let him come back for recess, whatever the cheshbon was. Mm-hmm. But I said to him, you might be right. We compromised. But he was expecting, that Menal pushback. And I just didn't give it, and I think he was so disappointed.
No, but he allowed you to make your point because he felt heard.
Right.
That's the bottom line.
So what advice, a typical scenario and very similar to this, is where you have a teacher who's more of a type A personality. A teacher who's more Mesuder. They've been doing it for a while. And your child is more hefkerdik, and your family is more chilled. And, bring the test back, sign you, lose 5 points and all this stuff. So as a parent, if you were giving advice to a parent who needs to advocate for their child, but there's this personality conflict.
It's not a shidduch. Sometimes it's not just a shidduch.
So what would you advise a parent to do to sort of help their child get through the year? And
I hope it would never get to the point where the child will literally not get through the year.
They're miserable, right? Yeah, they're miserable.
Right.
I could think of, and literally that scenario in my yeshiva
it's a very common scenario.
Of both extremes, of both sides. We have where the Rebbeim and the English teachers are opposites in their personality. And you have a kid who, I don't understand, he loves the English teacher, and yet what's wrong with, right? All of that. And we don't have parallels, so we can't necessarily, switch classes. And they're like, oh my gosh, it's November, it's December. We have 8 months left.
I think you have to find that middle ground. Parent has to understand that it can't always be their way, and the teacher has to understand the nature of the parents and the child. I think, like I said, the bottom line is, if we're all in it for the child, then we will find that middle road. And if you can't find that middle road, whether it's the teacher or the parent, you got them checkmate, because everybody's got to make it work. And I come from the same type of school. We have one class, and every Rebbe, every Mora, every parent has a different personality. And I can tell you, one of the hardest things to set up in our school is the remedial schedule, because it's not necessarily true that the child who didn't need it last year or needed it last year will need it the following year, because so much of it depends on the personality of the teacher. So you've got to find that middle road. You've got to find everybody being on the same page to help the child.
So I find to advise a parent, which I think is what this is about, advising a parent is to try to help the parent understand where the Rebbe or the Mora is coming from. I think when people understand where the other side is coming from, then the negotiation becomes a lot easier. When everyone takes their side without hearing the other side, the negotiation is going to go downhill. So I try to explain, let's say, type A Rebbe. Type A Rebbe is very demanding. And yes, he gives a lot of homework. And yes, he's not too tolerant of the child missing homework. However, I could tell you from the 10 years that I've worked with Rebbe X, that what he produces at the end of the day will set him up for life, 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, forever. Mm-hmm. And so even though it might be difficult to handle at the moment, you might see in the end tremendous results. So try to work with the Rebbe, and I give some hints about how this Rebbe operates. I said, if you acknowledge that the Rebbe is trying to do the job to help your child become the best Talmud it could ever be, likely if you need some type of accommodation, he'll give it to you. But if you go in with the attack, then the Rebbe's going to attack back and it's going to go nowhere. So I try to give them that little hint of how to navigate.
Sad. It's sad to say this. I'm going to say the secret. Most teachers, Rebbe and Moras, are missing recognition. And if you're that parent that does recognition,
Yeah, you get everything.
It goes very far.
That's on us. The missing recognition maybe from us.
But it's,
From everyone.
Yeah.
it's one of Covey's habits: seek to understand and then be understood.
Right.
And if everybody does it, it works.
Are we good Rabbi Levine, do you think we're good at this as a tzibur? In other words, it used to be definitely not. There was the principal, right? And there was the school who had their way, and there was very little communication. That's what report cards were for, and PTA was for. It was very little communication. We're all saying, I hate to be so like Pollyanna and PC, but we're all kind of saying like work together, and we have to work together and understand. And you're all from all different parts of the country, a little bit out of town flavor in Vegas and Minneapolis. But do you think parents? I will tell you this: I have a friend who listens to our podcast and gets very angry at me after every single podcast. And he calls me up, and I say to him, I said, just send in a voice record. He says, I can't, I'm too angry. And he says, you guys make believe that everything is great. The Menahelim are always great, and schools are always wonderful. It's not true. He's not just to say the other side, that Menahelim make horrible mistakes, and that Rebbeim are sometimes really bad, and they destroy kids. And so here we are, we're saying this really, I think a very common theme by us. Yes, here are the parents, here are the Rebbe, here are the teacher. Are we saying, forget our yeshivas, I don't know what's asked, is this what's happening? I mean, you're in Vegas. All you know is what happens in Vegas.
But I talked to my chaver, and we have emails, we this, we that. I'm saying chinuch has come a very long way from when I was in school, and we had older rebbeim and old school, and we'll leave it at that. And most certainly, I mean, we all have very difficult situations in our school. We have difficult conversations in our school. I guess if we would title this podcast, it would be about difficult conversations, how to have difficult conversations. Right. And I could read you my script that I talk about in every single practically difficult conversation, all the different words that we used, and perspectives, and tzibur versus yachid, and just understand perspectives. But chinuch has become much more flexible. Actually, in our school, we've been working on values. We call them attributes for success. And one of the things for staff members is being flexible. And we made it for students also. The same 4 things are for staff and are for students.
What are the 4 things?
4 things are being...
What is this? What is this? You have to remember. You have to have them now. You know them all?
I do have them. Of course I have them. What? Yeah.
Take out his phone and read them.
Rabbi Garfield, maybe put my phone over there. It's student-centered, flexible, passionate, and figure-it-outness.
Figure-it-outness.
It's a word that was created by our English principal.
A little. Is that a takeoff of flexibility?
What? It's correlated, and we use the same things. We're about to introduce them. We've been working on this with the staff for a year. So now flexible is part of the language of our school, and we have a situation like this. There are teachers that will come to a meeting and say, "I know I'm not flexible, and I know it's a very important value here." And I'm coming in with a mindset. And we're working it for students. So student-centered for a student means you have to come like a student and be flexible and passionate. We changed some of the bullet points, but we brought this into the language of our school. It's been tremendous.
And you don't hear, again, I don't know the makeup of your yeshiva, but does that turn away some of the more, could I say elite right? No.
I was waiting. It's only taken an hour for that to come up.
Some of the more right-wing members, flexibles could be a key word for liberal, right? And for so you'll let more things go, right? Flexible can be translated in many ways. So if you're too flexible, then all of a sudden you lose the core hashkafa of your yeshiva.
You could ask around town about my reputation.
I touched the point.
You went to no. I'm saying.
How do you say flexible in Hebrew? What's the?
I have no idea.
Flexible.
What's the? What's the midah of that?
Pshara. Pshara.
It's not Mesos Sharim. It's not one of the
Patronas.
Patronas. Okay.
It's a good question. We never thought about it.
Maybe Patronas is a better word than flexible. Because Patronas means I'm
allowing
another perspective in.
Right.
Whereas flexible means I really have no values. I'm just doing whatever that you want.
Make it work.
Letting you do whatever you want. No offense, but
okay.
I know that. I don't think that's what you mean. I don't think flexible means do whatever
the
you want.
friend who always complains. I think he's right a little bit.
Explain.
Too. What I mean to say is, Baruch Hashem, 90% of our schools are working well, and you do have probably more than 90%. But you are going to have that person who makes a mistake, whether it's a Rebbe, whether it's a Morah, whether it's a principal. And it could be it's true. And sometimes you have to fess up and wave the white flag. Sometimes you got to do it. But I think for the most part, our schools are going well and our children are learning. And
Do we think we have that, ability and a confidence and really the anivus to say, I messed up. I love apologizing to them. I think it's really, I think it's an amazing thing. I embarrass them all the time on purpose, just like I apologize.
If you asked me 5 years ago, the answer would have been much, much less. But grown up, got more confident.
I think it
Able to
garners
be
respect
vulnerable,
at the end of the day.
Age.
We all
Age.
make mistakes.
Comes with age. When I was a young principal working next door to Rabbi Bender, and we had a thin door between us, and I would be on the phone with a parent getting very defensive I was 27 years old at the time, as a young 27-year-old would do. After the phone call hung up, he'd open the door. Altabi, are you nuts? Scream at me. Get back on the phone and apologize. What'd you just do? Oh, my God. He gave me the training of a lifetime. So everything I am is him. Just want to say that publicly.
Well, so the ability, so he would force you to call back the parent?
Yep.
That's hard.
We once had a meeting. I'll never forget this one. We once had a meeting, and it was a meeting to tell a parent that the child was so special that it needed to go to special ed yeshiva, right? So there I am being, and sort of like
And
what
you're
this
doing
question
that
is.
meeting, not
And
Rabbi Bender, not the
I'm
Manal.
doing the meeting with Rabbi Bender,
Okay.
but I'm the one presenting the evidence, let's say. And I'm being very factual and like, punching, like basically, this is wrong, and this is wrong, and this is wrong, and this is wrong, and this is wrong. And really, the only option is to go to another yeshiva. And the mother walks out crying. Rabbi Bender takes me, he says, can you excuse me a second? Takes me in the hallway. What did you do? I said, I just told her all the facts. No, you don't understand. Do you know how hard? He said, play it back. Understand what the parent is going through right now. And when I had this lesson at a 27-year-old, it was like for life. Understand where the parent's going from. This parent has 2 other kids also with special needs. This is the one kid who maybe could make it a regular yeshiva, and you're telling her that one can't make it a regular yeshiva either, and you're just going fact, without couching it in a little bit of a more understanding method. Oh, so
Wow,
dang, that's where I learned it.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
You really got a real education over there.
Totally. Under fire.
Well,
It was good. Then you get old and you don't care anymore what people think. It's fine.
Can you just go back when you first started, as we get towards the end? I just want to go back. You made a comment about ADHD and the way it's used, and
Yeah.
can you tell us a lot? Yeah, tell us some more about that. That was interesting.
So first of all, ADHD is not a disability. Let's start with that. ADHD is actually something that if a person has ADHD, they're probably more programmed to be successful in life than people without ADHD because they could do more things. And if they learn how to channel their ADHD, they can achieve greatness. Okay, so yes, an ADHD kid in 3rd grade is not going to sit in the classroom like a regular kid could sit in the classroom. Okay, so let's figure out A, ways to channel it. B, why rush to medication? C, not every behavior that looks like ADHD is coming from ADHD. Depression will mask ADHD symptoms. Other things are going home, anxiety. You don't know. You put a kid who's an anxiety kid on ADHD medication, you mess them up much worse. I've seen
We had a story like this. I think I shared it last year, but I'll share it again. That a mother calls me in the summer, bawling on the phone. I'm destroying my son. I said, what happened? My son has ADHD for 4 years. He's been medicated, and he's been a disaster in yeshiva. And she got him reevaluated. And it turns out that he doesn't have ADHD, he has anxiety. And if you give a kid with anxiety medication that tells him to super focus, he's hyper-focused on his anxiety. And she changed the medication, she changed his life. But that's really a
So
challenge
you
in general.
think we're
That's Dr.
overdiagnosing?
Mandelman's big thing is changing everyone off ADHD medication to anxiety medication.
That's what Dr. Mandelman's doing?
Huge.
So is that what you're saying, that we're
Well, because
overdiagnosing?
I had a rule in my yeshiva in Hal in my last 9 years. No medication before 2nd grade. Start with that. Now,
What does that mean
a
you had a
kid-
rule? What if a parent...
I don't care. We're not medicating a kid before 2nd grade. They're too little. It's not indicated that such a thing should be. Let's try every other possibility. There are a lot of ways you could skin the cat. There are certain type of chairs which allow for more movement. I had a kid who was literally what I did with him. I said to him in the morning, what you're going to do in the morning, there's nobody in the building yet. Everybody was in davening. We're going to time you. You're going to run the entire building. Okay? Just run. So I had him on a clock. So you could do it. It went from 4 minutes to 3.5 to 3 minutes. The kid would come back panting. I said, good, now go to class. For 2 hours, he was good. 10:30 would come to recess, run. And we got through the year, and we didn't medicate him until 2nd grade. He's doing unbelievably well now. I came to visit the other day, gives me the biggest hug and a
So
high
you're
five.
talking about medication or ADHD
Well,
overdiagnosis?
that was an ADHD kid, actually.
Okay.
He really was in every way symptomatic of ADHD. But I said to my team, no way we're going to medicate this kid. He's a little kid. It's too early. We're going to get through the year. Let's use every other possible technique. And we got through the year. He did pretty well. We medicated him before second grade. The parents appreciated that we delayed until that point. They ran to give the medication. They didn't fight us at all, and the kid's doing really well. So that's how you have to play it. We over-medicate in this business. We're wrong.
Just ADHD or in general?
I don't mind saying this to the public out there. We, the chinuch, menahelim, principals, teachers in America, over-medicate, especially on the word ADHD, because that's the cure-all to everything. Kid can't sit like this for 8 hours a day. He's hyper ADHD medication. Wrong. Take the time, think about it. Yes, there's a point for ADHD medication, absolutely, at a certain point, but let's not over-medicate the whole world. And let's also realize when you put kids on medication very, very young, it might lead to other medications that you don't want to hear about later on, because we know that that equation happens also. So again, I'm not saying no medication. I'm just saying slow down. Let's get some real diagnoses. You're not a diagnostician. The teacher's not a diagnostician. There are professionals out there who can help us. And like you said before, you could put a kid on ADHD medication and they're really anxiety kids, and terrible. I've seen terrible things.
Okay, well, this is wonderful. I think we had a really great conversation, explored a lot of things. The bottom line is, I think we all agree that it's in the parents' best interest to find a way, not to, like you said, to stand on ceremony
Right.
and to, say you didn't contact me right, therefore I'm not interested in working with you for my
Right.
kid. You got to put that aside and find a way to connect.
But remember what you did say. I want to have a relationship with the school for the next 8 years. So I
Right.
don't want to be angry. What do I do?
Correct.
And so give her credit.
Yeah.
Correct.
And the kids, another thing is on that is the kids pick it up too. Not just how you relate, even in your house, how you relate to the school. At the dining room table, when you comment, it all affects that
A
child's
mom that wants to have a relationship with the school, the kid is that much more
Right.
likely to be successful.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
100%.
Parents should never disagree with the school in public in front of their
Of course not.
And we'll end with that.
Yes, perfect way.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining
so
us.
much.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that was really wonderful getting to meet the three Menahelim and talk about some real issues.
Yeah, and as we were saying throughout the discussion, no matter where they live, they
Yeah.
could live in the heat of Vegas or the cold of Minnesota or the charm of the Five Towns. We keep saying this. I almost sound like we're getting, I don't know, cliche, but the more and more you speak Menahelim and Rebbeim and people in Chinuch, you're in this much longer than I am, but there is we're so intentional in our interest in reaching every kid and reaching every parent and finding solutions.
Right.
Like this all those notions and all those, stereotypes of Menahelim and Rebbeim and schools. It just, I don't know, we spent the Shabbos with Kanai Nahar, 1,500 people, hundreds of Menahelim. There was one Menahel who told me, I still embarrass the kids.
Oy.
Straight.
Go get 'em.
I
Go get 'em.
Rambam. I said, wow, like that. But one out of 1,500, right? Not bad. Doing a good job. Is that too sappy?
Go get that guy who said about embarrassed. I'll go talk to
Go
him.
talk to him. You'll do your thing.
I'll do my thing.
What if the guy wants to reach us? How would he reach us?
Oh,
Garfield?
well, it's funny you should ask. 443-686-9339. You could call in this number, and we love the calls we get. That's 443-686-9339. Or you could send an email to thelearningcurve@mishpacha.com. That's the learning curve, one word, at mishpacha.com.
Pleasure.
Always fun,
See you in the
Rabbi.
flesh.
Yeah, it's
And
nice
now
to
we
be
go back-
together.
now we go back to the screens.
I'll see you on the screen.
Yes.
All the best. Thank
Take
you.
care.